people are majoring in the minors before they're majoring in the majors. I think you have to earn the right to biohack. Do the basics well. Get your sleep, get your workouts, get outside, sunlight, your feet on the dirt, have great relationships, eat your protein and fiber. Do the basics first, then go crazy with the other stuff.
JJ Virgin. She is a 4-time New York Times bestselling author with the most popular book titled The Virgin Diet, Drop 7 Foods, Lose 7 Pounds, Just 7 Days. She has a top podcast titled Well Beyond 40. She has been a trusted nutrition expert on the Dr. Phil show. She has appeared on the Today Show. She is on a mission to redefine aging, not as something to endure, but as a stage of life to own with strength, vitality, and purpose.
In order to really get what you need for your brain, the theory right now is that...
Hi, my name is Chris Burris. I'm a longevity expert and the chief scientist at a lab focused on a longevity molecule. My primary focus is to help people live longer and better lives with science. Make sure to subscribe and share so you and your friends can live longer and better. Well, actually, so you and your friends can live beyond the norms.
Hi, and welcome to the next episode of the Live Beyond the Norms Health and Longevity Podcast. Our next guest is none other than JJ Virgin. I first became aware of JJ as my company had a booth at her Mindshare event, which is now the Health Biz Growth event. We are going to have a booth at the next event in September. That's going to be another amazing event, so hopefully you can see us there. I remember the way JJ opened up the event last year, and it was obvious to me that she is a strong and accomplished woman. In part of the opening, she had a brief conversation with Dave Asprey, and frankly, I was moved by the powerful stage presence that she had. I got a chance to speak with her at the event. She's a busy lady, but I got a chance, and she shared with me that she was at one point a mentor of T. Harv Eker. I'm a big fan of T. Harv Eker's work through his company Peak Potentials, and I knew I needed to have JJ on my podcast. A little bit about JJ Virgin. She is a 4-time New York Times bestselling author with the most popular book titled The Virgin Diet, Drop 7 Foods, Lose 7 Pounds, Just 7 Days. She has a top podcast titled Well Beyond 40. She has been a trusted nutrition expert on the Dr. Phil show. She has appeared on the Today Show. She is on a mission to redefine aging, not as something to endure, but as a stage of life to own with strength, vitality, and purpose. Hopefully with this episode, I can help her with that mission. JJ, thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here. I'm excited to see what your costume will be this year.
Excellent. What's the theme this year? Because I'll be prepared.
Yes. And by the way, our big business is called Health Business Growth Collective, but we decided to keep the name of the Mindshare Summit after a lot of debate because it really is a meeting of the minds. We have a costume party for all the introverts to get out of their heads and into their fun self. So this year is superheroes.
Oh, awesome. Mm-hmm. Okay, I already got a bunch of ideas. My wife and I love to dress up, so that was an exciting piece of your event. In addition to the wrap-up pool party, which is
it's
just
the best.
Yeah,
it's the best part of the event. I know.
Make sure you attend. Make sure you listen and learn and whatever. Also attend the pool event at the end. So
it's the best. It's like it's like a pool rave. It's just super fun. Very tribal.
It was a great way to meet and chat with some people that I hadn't chatted with yet. So I did a quick ChatGPT search, which is always dangerous, right? To estimate the number of people that you have reached with your message. Would you like to guess what ChatGPT came up with?
Yeah, I would love to hear this because how did they figure this out?
Well, so its answer was 50 million across your platform. So it looked at, some odd 25 million through your podcast, and it starts accumulating this, and it's showing its work, but 50 million people. And this kind of leads me, it's part of my next question, which is always I like to, before we jump into your area of expertise, I like to go further back. I like to go much further back. What was it like growing up little JJ? Where did you grow up? What were your parents like? If there was some event or someone you could pinpoint as the reason you would ultimately become an entrepreneur, a podcaster, a New York Times bestselling author, a TV personality, someone who would impact 50 million people, what or who would that be?
I believe entrepreneurs are born, not made. It's very sexy nowadays to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't even know what I was growing up, that I was an entrepreneur. I was clearly an entrepreneur. You can tell the entrepreneurs growing up. But I didn't really figure out what that meant until my 40s. I just knew that I was unemployable, and the couple jobs I did have, I got fired. Little JJ, I wanted to perform. From early on, there were two things that I loved. I loved performing and speaking, and then I loved everything around health. So the two of those have merged really well. But, the young JJ was an adopted kid. And the funniest part, I remember running around my living room telling my mom to call Barbara Streisand because I was convinced she was my mother. We look so much alike, right? I mean, it's so ridiculous. But an interesting thing happens when you're an adopted kid that only adopted kids, I think, understand. There's actually books written about it. It's called a primal wound. And it is this whole thing that, the person who's supposed to love you most, it's that, one unconditional love gives you up. And no matter what they tell you, which my parents were like, more people loved you because she had to love you more to give you up. And I'm thinking, well, I love my teddy bear. I'm not giving it up. It's like, I don't believe that someone loves you more, they give you up. Like that was just a premise that didn't make sense. What it really did for me was a couple things. Some were very positive, some were not. One of them was like feeling like you could not count on anybody, that you had to do it all yourself and take care of yourself because people leave. So that's not a great one, and that you always have to prove yourself. When I was a little girl, my dad did the thing, and I know he didn't mean to do this, but he did the thing that plays into every adopted kid's fears. I was in the grocery store, and you know how at the grocery store they have that chute to check out where all the candy is? That's just the meanest thing to do to parents ever.
Yep.
And, there I am, like eye level to the Snickers bars and the M&Ms, crying that this is what I want. My dad saying absolutely not. And this goes back and forth on and on until I throw myself on the ground, kicking and screaming, like turning red. And I remember my dad leaning over me and saying, I'll send you back.
Mm.
And, that's the thing that every adopted kid's like, I'll send you back. You'll be an orphan. So the thing that I find with most of my friends who are adopted is they tend to be super overachievers. It's, from what I've heard, they're either in a ditch somewhere or they're an overachiever, or maybe they kind of go between both. And the thing that I've done that I think is really positive with it is when you're adopted, you kind of get to this point where you go, oh, I can create my family. And that's really what I've done. I go out and I create communities. I'm always looking for amazing humans. It's why I have the Health Business Growth Collective and all these people. I'm like, I just love finding amazing people and bringing them together and having this community, this family. So that is one of the things that I do. And that's the positive that came out of it. And the other stuff I've done a lot of work on and gotten through.
Yeah, I can imagine how brutal, right? This comment. By the way, I've said that to my kids, and there's a different meaning, right? When you're adopted, and
yeah, you can't send them back anywhere. What are you going to do? They're going back in the womb.
Well, and in reality, a parent saying that, they have no intent. Like there's no, like this is just like even a joke sometimes, but it just lands differently. So especially when you're dealing with this primal wound. You say you've worked on a lot of stuff. I'm sure one of the things that you've worked on is like you kind of grow up thinking that people will leave and that you can't trust people, but you have a team and you trust your team. And can you talk a little bit about how hard that was for you to get to the point where you can have a team and you trust them and you understand that they're going to help you get to where you want to go?
Yeah, it never was as hard with the team. I think because it was a different exchange than, say, a partner. Where it showed up was not even in friends. It wasn't in friends. It wasn't in team. It was in, like my husband. And the first husband I married, I never really was in love with. That was the easy solution. Then I didn't need to really worry about it. He was a good guy. Take him or leave him. That's terrible, and he deserved way better. And so when I married Tim, who is my most perfect partner, it really took some work to feel totally safe and really letting myself fall in love with this guy, because that is a scary thing, right?
Yeah, my wife and I had very similar things. We both were previously married and we're going in and I was like, I was actively looking for reasons to go away. And she was too, right? Because we're like, I'm just going to be alone. Like if I'd rather be than be with the wrong person. And at some point you go like, you got to stop looking, right? Because nobody's perfect. And if you keep looking, eventually you'll find it. So there's that transition. So you mentioned that you were kind of focused on health. How did that evolve? How did you kind of grow up to be focused on health and fitness?
I've always been focused on health and fitness. I wanted to be a theater actress. So I actually went to American Conservatory Theater growing up and put myself through it, paid for it myself, and taught dance classes. I mean, excellent tap dancer, not a skill set that's highly marketable, as we know. Um, but I went to UCLA on a theater scholarship, which it was really hard to get into the theater department there. And that's what I was convinced I was going to do, was be a musical theater actress. And so because of that, I saw my body very differently. In fact, when I was in high school, I went off to a modeling agency in San Francisco because I'm 6 feet tall and everyone's like, you should be a model. I go off to this modeling agency and they told me, and I'm the same as I am now, right? Like I actually, when we went home to clean out my parents' house after my mom passed at 93, Tim, of course, he's like, does your cheerleading outfit still fit? It still fits. I'm like, is that fantasy? Okay, can we like be done with that? Anyhow, it still fits, and I brought it home. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. Not very attractive.
Maybe your next theme for your.
It could be. I mean, at some point, that's got to have some life to it. So anyway, look the same as now, except I'm a little more muscular. And I literally go to this modeling agency, and they go, "Yeah, you need to lose 20 to 30 pounds." Yes.
Am I going to chop off an arm or something?
I know. I'm like, what? How does this work? So, but I was like, okay. I go home. I check out a diet book from the library. I start counting calories. I remember having this calendar where I was counting calories every day. Now, meanwhile, I am doing dance. I'm doing sports at school. I'm doing all this stuff. And my performance is tanking. My dance teacher asked me if I'm anorexic. This is after like just a couple weeks. And that's when I went, you know what? I can't do the things I want to do. Like I could either be skinny and do this modeling thing, although I don't even think I could ever get skinny enough because my bone structure is just bigger. I said, but I could either be strong or I can be skinny, and I'm going to choose strong. And I'm so grateful that happened because it changed everything for me. So really the takeaway was I was looking at my body very differently. I was looking at my body as much more of a performance tool than, a self-worth metric, which is what I feel like so many women especially, have used the scale as this self-worth metric and has just damaged not only their mental health, but their metabolic health and their longevity.
Yeah, I've had lots of conversations with people who, like, when you're trying to lose that 20 pounds to reach some goal that is potentially unattainable, it just wrecks so many things. My mother was a dancer growing up, so it was fascinating because she didn't see it as athleticism until later in her life. It sounds like you've got that. And then you also think about the child who's making this cool decision of, you know what, the modeling thing, that's just not going to work. Like, I want to perform, and making really good decisions for yourself. You've impacted 50 million people. Like, they've heard your message. How do you want people to think about their approach to aging?
A couple years ago, as I was getting ready to turn 60, I realized that I had all these plans for 50, which I had the best 50th birthday party down in Miami Beach with Dr. Sarah Gottfried and Dr. Anna Kabecka and some other friends threw this party. It was amazing. I hit all my goals. Everything's fantastic. I'd been looking forward to 50. And then all of a sudden I'm getting ready to turn 60 and I'm not feeling the same. And I remember I've been looking at all the aging memes and hearing all the bad statistics of the muscle you lose. And, if you break a hip after 50% of women are going to do that. And then if you do, 30% of those people die in the first year. I mean, all this really bad stuff, right? And fortunately, Dr. Mark Hyman and I were chatting, and he goes, there's a study that says if you are excited about aging, if you have a positive mindset about it, you live 7.5 years longer than someone who doesn't. And I thought, I never did my goals again. I did my goals at 50, but then I never did them for 60. And I remember when I was on Dr. Phil, he would always talk about your get real goals and that you couldn't be as good as you were in high school. And I kept thinking, no, you could be better. And so I thought, well, what if I could be in the best shape of my life at 60? Stronger, fitter, leaner, happier. I have better wardrobe sense, clearly. A lot of things are better. So why not? And that's what I set out to do. Unfortunately, my husband, Tim, was a willing participant to go alongside with me. And he is in his best shape too, which is super fun. Like, how cool is that, right? That literally we are both in our best shape of our life, fittest than we've ever been at 60. So the big message there is this is really a decision. I mean, so much of what we get is what we expect. So if you believe you're over the hill and everything's downhill from here, and then that's exactly what's going to happen. If you decide, like I have a friend who in her 70s made more money in her 70th year than she had in all of her other years combined, reaching more people, making a bigger impact, happier in her life, happier in her relationships. I'm like, that's what I'll be having. That's what I'm doing.
And that's what you're helping people to realize that they can do, right? Like I saw a video today that was talking about a particular actor who was a nobody until he was 60, right? And the message was like, keep working, because if you love it and you can survive, like, who knows what's going to happen? The only way to guarantee failure is to quit.
Exactly. Well, and also, like, what are you working for? Like, for so much of what I do now, I'm more excited in my career with my companies than I've ever been. I think there's more opportunity. I think I love the things that AI is opening doors for. Like, there's just so much cool stuff out there.
I'm finding myself in the same situation where now I'm more excited than I've been about anything. You, in one of your interviews, you described learning to do things the hard way, or learning to do hard things, like growing up being a tall woman. My daughter isn't as tall as you, but has some of the kind of, she's taller. She's 5'9", probably. She's 15. So I was having a conversation with her actually like a couple of days ago. Like, why is it that height impacts women this way when you're kind of super tall? And which I'd love to have your input on that. And then talk about the learning to do hard things and how that's impacted you.
So height was horrible until high school because you're taller than all the boys. Now, here's the cool thing about being tall in elementary school, being the tallest, not only the tallest girl, except for one guy, Charles Ward, who was a kind of weird dude who would roll his eyelids back. Like, that's all I remember about him.
He was tall and he rolled his eyelids back.
It was like, ew, Charles Ward. Anyway, except for him, I was the tallest kid. And so that meant I had to play on the boys' teams. The reality is, how cool is that? Because when I went off to high school, first of all, there were tall boys there, and that was exciting. That was like the greatest thing. All of a sudden, I had a bigger pool to choose from. But also, I was used to playing on the boys' teams. So when I was in high school, and I was doing things like, gymnastics, which was silly because I was 6 feet tall, and track and cheerleading, I went and worked out with the football team in the gym because we didn't have a weight room for the girls. We only had one for the boys. So it served me well because I was used to playing on the boys' teams, right? So that was a cool thing. You don't feel like height's an advantage until you start to get into high school and then go off to college. And then you realize what an advantage this is. Like, it's such an advantage. She'll grow into it. And plus, it's an advantage at like concerts.
There's that.
There's that, right? It's always that thing. You're like, yep, I can see fine.
Well, and that goes very specifically to the seeing things from a positive perspective. What is the positive piece here? Like, and you talk about a positive perspective on aging can buy you another 7 years. Like, holy smokes, like, figure out how to be positive today. How do you think this kind of learning hard things has impacted the people and businesses that you coach?
I think the most important thing, and it all comes back to sports. The worst thing that ever happened, and apparently we just changed this politically, but like the worst thing that ever happened is like stopping all the PE in school. Like, when you look at what should little kids learn? Well, the best thing they can be doing is PE, because they learn all sorts of different activities and they learn how to do hard things. And I think Huberman was talking about this on his podcast, the neurology of learning hard things and what it does for you. But when you do something harder, you're like, oh, cool. It transfers to other areas of your life. The way you do one thing is the way you do all things. And so doing hard things in life, whether it's like doing another rep. I remember we had to do all those. Do you remember the physical fitness awards?
Yeah. I'm glad they're bringing them back.
I know. All that stuff needs to be there because what did it teach us? To do hard things and to be competitive with yourself. And it was hard. And I remember my mom telling me, here's how you go and do this. Here's what you say to yourself mentally to get through this. I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's do hard things. Because the more you do hard things, the more you look at stuff and go, oh, I can do that. Because I went through this and I've gone through really hard stuff in my life. And each time I realized that I'm so much stronger than I think. And I had a great mentor at 30 who said, don't wish it was easier. Because if it's easier, then everyone's doing it, right? You just keep making yourself better. You keep making yourself stronger. And you'll get to a point, like if you look at the most successful people out there and however you define success, I define success by the impact lives changed. The most successful people I know have just gone through the toughest things. And they've built this incredible resilience muscle.
Hey, super quick break from the podcast. Hopefully you're loving it. This is a way you can support the podcast and take advantage of a great offer. We're offering 50% off of one of our MCT bottles. MCT is an amazing oil. Add the ESS 60 molecule to it. It's even more amazing. All you got to do is leave a review on iTunes. Send us a notification that you've left that review. We'll get you a coupon code. That'll get you 50% off of our MCT oil and free shipping. Back to the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Your most popular book, The Virgin Diet, you wrote that back in 2014. What are some of the key learnings from that book? And are there any things that you might update today?
Yeah, so actually that book came out in 2012. I remember it really well because it became a New York Times bestseller when I was sitting bedside with my 16-year-old son in a coma.
Oh, wow.
And that's why when people give me reasons why they can't do things, I'm like, that is really, like, you're not going to give me any reason out there for why you can't do something. I find quite often the reason why people say they can't do something is the reason why they must do the thing. I was so excited about that book because I knew what it had the power to do. I'd been doing work one-on-one and then in groups with people, helping them pull out these foods that I'd found through food sensitivity testing were the most common culprits for food intolerance. And this is where your gut gets leakier due to gluten or due to sugar, artificial sweeteners, different kinds of toxins. And because your immune system, your gut lining is, basically one cell wall thick and your immune system's right below it, these foods that you're eating the most often are and not getting well digested are hitting your immune system and creating immune complexes that then build up in your body and cause all sorts of things. They cause gas and bloating and headaches and joint pain and fatigue, and they can cause you to hold on to or gain weight and cause inflammation. It's interesting. I almost wrote, so I did write. I wrote The Virgin Diet 2.0 because a couple of years ago, my agent was like, you need to write The Virgin Diet 2.0. The reality is there's not a whole lot that needs to be changed. The only difference was talking a little bit more about gut permeability and what things can disrupt your gut membrane and how you can heal it. And I feel that that's what I'd stress more. But I'd still talk about the same foods because those are the foods that show up in IgG4 testing. And I still believe that the easiest way to figure out which foods work for you and which foods don't is just to pull the foods out, the most common culprits, go through some gut healing, and then go back and check in. And if you're still not where you want to be, then do some more advanced gut testing to see if you've got outliers or if you've got something going on with your gut microbiome. But there's not a lot that really, in the messaging I would change. There's just more food options available there for packaged foods. But the reality is I'd rather have you not eating those anyway. It's like the answer isn't, hey, you're going gluten-free, go eat all the gluten-free processed foods. The answer is go eat an avocado, right?
I love avocado, by the way. And
like, who doesn't?
Yeah, only weird people, only scary weird people don't like avocados. I wanted to roll back a little bit because we were talking about doing hard things, and I wanted to bring up, I think there, especially with this kind of physical fitness test, there's a whole generation of people who haven't been pushed hard. and you start getting into thinking about longevity. And one of the things you realize is you need to start working out. And I had a conversation with a person who would describe themselves as a theater kid, but didn't have the physical aspect that you had as a theater kid, right? And those people go to work out and it hurts and they stop, right? And that's not how you get fitter. That's not the process. So there really is so much advantage to doing these things, doing these hard things earlier. So now you know what a tough workout is, and you know that it hurts, and you know that you can push through it. But there's a whole kind of generation of people coming in and not knowing that they can work that hard.
Right, because everyone got a trophy.
Yeah. Everyone got a trophy. I'm imagining you took some food sensitivity tests at some point, or was this just coaching? And did you find some things about your diet that surprised you?
Well, so what happened was I was working with a lab company that was doing food sensitivity testing, and I was teaching healthcare practitioners how to use this in their practice to get better results. So I did it on myself, discovered I was like, it seemed like 90% of the people that we tested. What happened was I looked at so many tests, and the majority of people reacted to eggs and dairy. Now, gluten's a different type of test, so I wasn't looking at that. And the reality is that gluten is one of the things that triggers gut permeability. So, it would be different if we were in Europe, but we are not. We are here in the United States with gluten, glyphosates, problematic situation. So gluten was creating a lot of the problems, as was sugar and artificial sweeteners. The things I saw the most were dairy and eggs. That's what I saw on mine. The second tier were corn, eggs, and peanuts. And so when I first did this, I just pulled out gluten, dairy, corn, eggs, soy, and peanuts. Oh, it was corn, soy, and peanuts, yeah. And I would have people, because it was 3 weeks for the test to come back, right? So I would pull the foods out. They'd come back 3 weeks later, and they did not want to eat those foods again. I go, well, listen, your test shows that you don't react to peanuts. They're not causing an issue, but I don't care. I feel great. They didn't want to touch the foods. But when I first was only pulling out 6 foods, guess what they went and started to eat a bunch of? Sugar. And then I'd explain about fructose and gut permeability. And I thought, you know what? That's where the 7 foods came from, which was very catchy, because the reality was the average weight loss, and I say weight loss very specifically, in the first week was 7 pounds. But realize when you're losing 7 pounds in a week, it's because you had a lot of inflammation. And they were eating a super high carb diet. So they depleted some glycogen stores, they lost some inflammation, and they probably lost a pound of fat or 2. But it wasn't like, someone was really disappointed because they lost like 6 pounds the first week and a pound the next. And I'm like, oh boy, I have to really educate. This is not about trying to lose lots of weight every week. This is about losing 0.5 to 1% of your body weight each week, so that we're making sure we're losing fat while holding on to muscle. Like, this is not, you do not want to lose more than that. That's problematic.
How about protein? How do you talk about protein? Because you now have a 7-day protein challenge. So how would you kind of fold in protein with the Virgin diet?
Here's how they would really work. Like, where I would start someone, well, you could start either side. If someone came in with a lot of GI issues, inflammation, et cetera, I'd probably start them with the Virgin diet. If someone came in without those, I'd start them on eat protein first, but at some point do that to make sure, because if you're eating protein, some of the easiest choices are an egg white combo and Greek style yogurt. But if you're dairy intolerant or egg intolerant, you've got leaky gut, that's a problem. So, if I were to write Virgin Diet 2.0, I would make sure they're getting 30 to 40 grams of protein at each meal, and they're dosing protein per their overall, ideal body weight, which I didn't do back then. I was like, when I tell you what to eat, it ends up being there, but I didn't make them track it like I do now. Now the food apps are so much easier now, and we didn't really have great food apps back then. But now I think that it's really important to do a macro audit, track what you're eating for at least a month, use a food scale because you can't eyeball it. We're notoriously bad at that. And ensure that you are getting what you need in terms of protein and fiber, because those are the real keys here. and then check in to confirm that you're not eating things. Because if you're vegan or vegetarian, you're going to tend to eat more, well, vegetarian, soy, eggs, and dairy, right? If you're vegan, it would probably be soy and corn, because corn is actually a good source of protein, but these could be super problematic if you've got food intolerances to them.
Yeah, so that's where you got to be careful. Now, did you talk about supplementation in the Virgin diet? Is that something that was on the radar? And I know creatine is absolutely on your radar now.
So back then, I talked about supplementation in terms of shakes, because the biggest challenge I had is people were used to eating dairy or eggs or gluten or soy for breakfast. So I have everyone start the day with a Virgin Diet shake. That's when I came out with, back then it was like a novel thing. I made a really great tasting pea-based, plant-based shake, which I continue to have to this day. Then I introduced a bone broth-based shake because I wanted to have an alternative for people who couldn't tolerate whey. And then I just recently bumped those so that they have the amino acid profile of whey, which is so super cool, because that's the big argument. It's like whey's got the gold standard for amino acids. And it's like, okay, well, how do we just make that happen in pea and bone broth? So that's what I did there. My supplement focus has changed because I've gotten 12 years older, 13 years older. So now my focus is everything about aging powerfully. What do you need to do for muscle mass? What do you need to do for collagen, for bone health, for brain health, for cardiovascular health? So it has definitely changed. And here's what's really funny, Chris. So, I was lifting weights with the high school football team. And then when I went off to grad school, in college and grad school, I started working out and taking clients to Gold's Gym in Venice. I literally was training people at Gold's Gym in Venice before there were trainers there. Now it's like there's 1,000 personal trainers there. And every guy there seemed to be taking creatine. Now, every guy there also was on steroids. But what I saw was oh, creatine, big dudes, big girls. Not for me, right? And back then everyone did creatine with the loading doses, and it was a whole thing. So I just kind of dismissed it until a couple of years ago. And then I was looking at some research, and I think it was more related to bone, or maybe it was brain health. And I'm looking at this, and then I'm starting to unpack, because when you look at especially women, mid 40s on, that are starting to get brain fog, their dementia risk is going up, their bone health is problematic, they're starting to lose muscle, but energy is a huge thing. And you look at this and go, all right, this is really where you need to focus for women, because men may be getting in their 2 pounds of meat, right? Or a pound of rare meat a day. So they might be getting what they need. We make about 1 gram of creatine a day from arginine, methionine, glycine. So as long as you're getting what you need food-wise, you can make it. But then you need to have another gram or 2 supplementally. And if you're under stress, you're going to need more. And in order to really get what you need for your brain, the theory right now is that your muscles are really using the majority of it. And if you're really focusing on brain, you better push harder. So you think about, most women are not eating enough protein to begin with. They're eating more plant-based protein. They're not getting in, creatine is from meat. So they're not getting in what they need in terms of enough from meat. Like it would literally be 1 pound of very rare or raw meat and fish, or 2 pounds of cooked. And so it makes such a difference to supplement. So I started recommending creatine monohydrate a couple of years ago. I actually started producing my own. And then I started getting all of these complaints and blowback about bloating and weight gain. And I'm like, all right, just power through it. It'll go away. Well, women don't power through things. And the challenge is, a little bit of it was going in the muscle, but a lot of it was just they were feeling bloated and gassy. So a couple years ago, I was speaking at a conference, and the guy who discovered creatine HCl happened to be there, and I got to connect up with him. I eventually went to Nebraska, where he has his plant, because as he started to tell me about creatine HCl, I was like, okay, I'm critically open-minded. Like everything out there in the creatine world says only use monohydrate. It's the most researched. The other stuff is just marketing hype. It's just more expensive, blah, blah, blah. Well, the reality is you'll hear that creatine monohydrate is 100% absorbed, but it's not. Like when you look at the pharmacokinetics of creatine monohydrate versus HCl, it is only about 15% absorbed when you take it up to the levels of 3 grams or more. And especially the more you do, a little bit less is absorbed each time. So that's how you have to look at it in terms of solubility. It's not static as you increase it. When you look at HCl, it's more like 85% absorbed. So you need a fraction. And you can kind of tell this because you hear people say 5 grams is what you should take of creatine a day, but yet you need about 1 gram. And then if they say if you're under stress or pressure or anything else, then take it to 10 grams or maybe 20 grams. Well, if it's all being absorbed, why would you need that much? Like the math doesn't math. So I flipped over to creatine HCl, which you need about 750 milligrams to 1 gram. And then I push it. I take about 3 grams a day because I'm always pushing things. Like, I mean, I just push. But I've also been super excited about it because where it really shines is in brain health and sleep deprivation and jet lag. And it used to be the thing that even if I was traveling across country, I'd get taken out. I mean, it was ridiculous. 2 to 3 hours, I would be like messed up. Now it's a non-issue if I'm traveling from here to Europe. Doesn't faze me whatsoever anymore. So that's been the biggest gift.
That's very cool. And I've had conversations with people. One guy in particular in a networking group that I'm in who took kind of regular creatine, bumped it up. He said, I'm taking like 4 times the regular dose. I was like, you're taking like, what is that, 20 grams? And he's like, yeah. And he has PTSD because he served for us, and it had a dramatic impact for him. So that impact on
Very
the brain
cool.
is great. And I just have to throw out our product, and we can talk about that some other time potentially. But my wife and I, we travel internationally. We just got back from Singapore. We don't suffer from jet lag either. It's just kind of,
isn't it amazing? Like it's mind blowing what you can do with this. So yeah, I mean, a creatine monohydrate, if you can use it and it doesn't cause any of that stuff, it's like it's all going to work. Just take more. And I think it should be like the foundational, like one of the foundational supplements, because it's the thing we probably used to get in our diet 500 years ago that we don't.
And you actually have something called creatine, right? And it's a nice formula. It's designed for women in particular.
Tim named it creatine, but he takes it. He just puts his finger over the S and it's now creatine.
You got to compromise. Somehow you got to compromise. Well, this already has been an amazing conversation. It's gone pretty quickly. I want to keep this really tight and get into some kind of wrap-up questions for this podcast. We are a health and longevity podcast. So my first wrap-up question is, JJ, do you have a target age that you want to live to?
I think that's so silly, honestly. So here's what I want to do. I want to like have the best time ever, make a big impact, love what I'm doing, feel great. And when that starts to go downhill, I want to do like I have a 19-and-a-half-year-old Chihuahua who just passed away. And literally she lived her best life until about a week before she passed away when her kidneys started to fail. And then she went. And I'm like, that's my role model, my Daisy Chihuahua.
Yeah, as many interviews I've had about longevity, the kind of best metaphor is a candle flame, right? To burn bright and fully until that very end. I think that's a great strategy.
That or a light bulb that just goes out.
I do have a light bulb in my living room that I need to change that's been blinking for...
Yeah, not a blinky light bulb, not that like
one.
weird thing.
How long do you think humans can live?
I think that you could totally make a case for like 120 to 140. I mean, I know we've blown past 120. I think 140 is reasonable. Again, some of this stuff of what people are saying, it's just seems very hypey to me to make these decisions, because really isn't it quality?
Yeah.
So like, I don't want to live another 10 or 20 years if I'm in pain with dementia.
It's all contingent on, can I have the same mental capacity or very similar as today and the same physical capacity?
I'm more excited about all the joint stuff that's coming out, because I think for all of us who've been athletic our whole lives, that's the problem that we're facing. It's like, oh no, so.
Things are a little achy. Yeah. JJ, what are 2 to 3 protocols, habits, mindsets, let's call them shortcuts because everybody likes shortcuts, to longevity and a long health span that you would share?
I think that sauna is, man, like it's funny. We have a sunlight and sauna, and then we have one of those relaxed saunas. And we travel with so much stuff. And Tim goes, we can travel with the relaxed sauna. I go, you know what, honey, like it's enough that we travel with the portable red lights. It's like, I'm not, so sauna and red lights, I am just absolutely obsessed with my sauna and red lights. Those, and I'll tell you what else for traveling that has been a game changer. Have you heard of these Oslo earbuds? Oh my gosh. So I get sent stuff all the time and I never quite know why. And I get sent these Oslo earbuds. These are the greatest things ever. They're white noise. They have saved me in hotels. Like nothing can faze me now. Doesn't matter if I've got tap dancing, troupe above me. I can sleep right through it. It's fantastic. So those would be mine, because sleep of anything, oh my gosh, like sleep is the most important.
Absolutely. Can you think of 1 or 2 things that people get absolutely wrong regarding longevity and a long health span?
I think what they're doing is majoring in the minors. I'll give you a great example. So New Year's Eve, I was at Dr. David Perlmutter's 70th birthday party, barefoot and black tie on a boat dock. It was awesome. And I'm sitting next to this guy who said, yeah, I went to like this retreat with Dr. Mark Hyman. I'm going to upgrade it with Dave and blah, 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 right? And he's doing all the things, all the peptides, all the stuff. I'm like, that's great. What do you do for exercise? And he's looking at me and he's looking at his feet and he's like, well, I did yoga like last week, right? I still find that people are majoring in the minors before they're majoring in the majors. I think you have to earn the right to biohack. Like to me, your first things that you got to do are the basics. Do the basics well. It's like get your sleep, get your workouts, and that means that you're doing a great combination of resistance training and HIIT training, zone 2, and some mobility yoga types of flexibility stuff. Get outside, sunlight, your feet on the dirt, have great relationships, eat your protein and fiber with lots of plants in there. Like do the basics first, then like go crazy with the other stuff. But like, don't think you can skip over those things and get into some light bed and solve all your problems.
That's awesome. JJ, how can people contact you?
jjvirgin.com.
So easy. And what in the near future are you excited about?
I have a book coming out again.
Woohoo!
I know. This has been a long time coming. And it's so funny. So it's coming out June 2026. And my publisher literally, we just met last week and she's like, that's pretty fast. I'm like, it's written. Maybe we should push it to 2027. I go, this book has been like 3 years of giving birth. Like we need to get this book out.
It's time.
I'm done. Let's go.
Can you share the title?
Soon. I want to make sure I secure everything around it because I shared one before and guess what? Someone took it.
Boo. Okay.
Boo
well.
hiss. So yes, I have to. But here, the whole premise is that we have been gauging our success and our health on the wrong metric. And it still happens every time you go into a doctor's office, you step on the scale, and I'm always waiting for them to say something, and we've got to stop looking at the weight. We've got to start looking at what the weight is made up of and take a muscle-first approach to our health. Like, could you imagine the difference if we started to look at improving our muscle before we ever started talking about losing fat? Because it would happen naturally if we did it that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So maybe some sort of DEXA scan is something that they should be looking at instead of just the
or even just an in-body in the office or an in-body at home. Just not weight. You got to know what your weight's made up of.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. All right, you can find her at jjvirgin.com. JJ, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Live Beyond the Norms podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow. Also, make sure not to be that guy, the guy sharing this podcast with people who are not interested in living beyond the norms. If you would like to learn more about the ESS60 molecule, the molecule responsible for the single longest longevity experimental result on mammals in history, a full 90% extension of life, visit myvitalc.com. That's myvitalc as in carbon.com.